Hi everyone, so for today's video I'm going to be putting all the techniques that we learned in the last watercolor bookmark video into one big painting. So what I'm showing you guys here is that I just went ahead and sketched an Adobe house on a piece of watercoloring paper. I just got an image from Pinterest and kind of just drew what I saw. You could do anything, any image you wanted, but I thought since we're in New Mexico, an Adobe house would be appropriate. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm putting water on the paper. It was a little brown because I didn't clean my brush off enough, but then I'm going in with my brown Adobe color and I'm putting that on top of the wet paper. I want the paper to be wet before I put the paint on so that the color is really smooth and kind of light. Also doing this, I'm trying to make one side darker and one side lighter to kind of get a little bit of shadow and dimension to the house. So I am repeating this process for the rest of the house. I'm putting water on the paper first and then doing the brown. I do it in little sections so that the water doesn't dry by the time I get to the little section that I'm doing. So I'm just doing that. I'm trying to make sure it's kind of gradient so we get that effect of a shadow. And so just do this for your entire house. Okay, so now I went ahead and made a really watery gray color and I'm gonna add shadows to the house. So I'm going directly over what I just painted. I'm making sure the paint is dry though, I don't want it to be wet. And I'm just adding where the shadows would be. I also added a little gray walk, like little side path in the front of the house. But I need these to have shadows and I'm putting it where there would be shadows on the house. Now I'm coloring in the doors and windows. I wanted to contrast the sort of yellowy brown that we have with the bright blue. So I just created a blue and I'm just putting that on the windows. I'm being, it's like I'm not doing perfect lines. It's getting on the brown a little bit, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Now what I'm doing is I'm doing the trees in the back. So this one you can be really sloppy. Get really wet paint and just start dabbing on different shades of green. Like go crazy, do different shades, leave a little bit of white space there just because it adds some dimension and it just makes the tree look a little bit more realistic. But I'm doing that and it's gonna look a little weird right now, but don't worry, we're gonna change it and at the end of the video you'll see what we do with the trees. Now I'm going in with the mountains and so I'm getting like a really deep blue color. And I'm just going in and filling in those mountains, making them a little bit darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. I also go in and try to add some texture by putting some darker spots in the mountains. So I just do that until all of the mountains are complete. Now for the ground, I'm going to go in with that same sloppy kind of technique that we did for the trees. And I'm going to do a sort of yellowy green grass look. So I'm just going in with different sections and putting in my yellow. And then I'm going to go in with my green and do the different sections as well. Here I'm being really sloppy with it and I decided to do this on dry paper just so it has a little bit more texture. If I had the paper wet before, it'd be more smooth. So if that's the look you want to go for, of course you can do that. But for the ground, I wanted it to look like it had a lot of texture. So I just finished that up and just add a little bit of darker colors to add more dimension. Now I'm going in with the sky. So for this one, I wanted a really smooth look. So I'm putting water down on the paper first, making sure the paper is wet. And then I'm going in with this bright yellow, but I make sure it's really watered down so it's kind of toned down. And I'm doing this across the entire sky. I add a little bit of more yellow details. And then I go in with a blue. I make sure there's a lot of water on it. And I'm adding little stripes and making sure they blend out to create a sort of sunset look. So I just keep on adding water and blending it so it looks smooth and not like blue lines on a paper. This next step is to go in with your black pen and outline your house and everything in the picture basically. I like doing this because it kind of completes the picture. Like if you want to keep it how it is before you do the pen, that's up to you, but I just like the look of adding pen and you get to be kind of sloppy with it and have fun. So I'm going in, I'm tracing everything on the house, I'm putting texture on the leaves by just honestly scribbling on it, making sure you can kind of tell that it's a tree. I added a little fence. You can see I went in on the grass and I added little scribbles to make it look like there was grass instead of just, I don't know, nothing on the ground. So now I went in and I got my pen and I made little stippling dots on the edges of the house to kind of add some more dimension and shadows. I'm going in, making sure my fence is good. And that's the whole tutorial. That is the finished piece, and I hope you guys keep working with watercolor because it is super fun and relaxing, and I hope you learned something with these 2 videos. And next, we're going to do some more videos on crafts. So, I hope you enjoyed this.